Welcome to Vorldrevolution. This is Summary of Leaders Eat Last. Why Some Teams Pull Together and Others Don't by Simon Sinek. We're going to explore a profound question. What makes some organizations thrive, where people feel safe, inspired, and united, while others crumble under distrust and disconnection? Simon Sinek, the visionary author of Start With Why, takes us on a journey through biology, anthropology, and real-world stories to uncover the essence of true leadership. This isn't just a book about CEOs or managers. It's a call to rethink how we work together as human beings. From the battlefields of Afghanistan to the factory floors of South Carolina, Sinek reveals why great leaders put their people first and how that choice builds cultures of trust and resilience. So, settle in, and let's dive into this deep exploration of leadership, humanity, and the power of connection. Part 1. Our need to feel safe. Picture this: a world where danger lurks around every corner, whether it's a predator in the shadows or a looming deadline threatening your job. Now imagine a place where you feel safe, surrounded by people who have your back. That's the heart of Part 1 of Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek, titled Our Need to Feel Safe. Over the next half hour, we'll explore why safety isn't just a luxury. It's a biological imperative that shapes how we work, live, and thrive. Through gripping stories from war zones to workplaces, Sinek unveils a truth as old as humanity itself. We're wired to seek protection, and great leaders deliver it. From a pilot risking his life for troops he'll never meet, to a CEO transforming a factory into a family, this is about the power of trust and why it matters more than ever. Let's dive in. Chapter 1. Protection from Above. Our journey begins in the pitch-black skies over Afghanistan, August 16, 2002. Captain Mike Drowley, call sign Johnny Bravo, flies his A-10 Warthog above a valley shrouded in clouds. Below, 22 Special Operations Forces trek through rocky terrain, escorting a high-value target after the fall of the Taliban. They're under attack, pinned down by relentless enemy fire from both sides of the valley. Johnny can't see them. The clouds are too thick, the night too dark, but their radio crackles with urgency. Troops in contact. For Johnny, those 3 words ignite a visceral response. He imagines the chaos from Saving Private Ryan, bullets whizzing, men falling, and knows he can't stay aloft in safety while they fight below. Against all protocol, Johnny decides to execute a weather letdown. A perilous descent through turbulence and storm, guided only by night vision goggles and outdated Soviet maps. Counting seconds aloud, 1,000, 1,000, he avoids slamming into mountain walls by mere moments. His Gatling gun roars, lighting up enemy positions, and he pulls up sharply, G-forces crushing him into his seat. Again and again, he dives until his ammo runs dry. His wingman joins for another pass, and finally, the radio breaks its silence. Good hits. Keep it coming. That night, all 22 soldiers survive, not because Johnny sought glory, but because he felt their danger as his own. Meeting them later, he didn't expect medals, just hugs from men who'd become brothers. Sinek uses Johnny's story to introduce the circle of safety, a space where leaders shield their people from external threats, freeing them to face challenges together. In caveman days, this meant guarding against saber-toothed tigers. Today, it's market volatility or layoffs. Johnny's empathy, his ability to feel what those troops felt, drove his courage. Sinek argues this isn't unique to soldiers. At Google, for example, leaders foster psychological safety, encouraging risk-taking without fear of punishment. When employees feel protected from above, like Johnny's team felt his cover, they give their all, not out of obligation, but loyalty. Chapter 2. Employees are people too. Now let's step into a South Carolina factory owned by Hasan Sandiacre, part of Barry Wemmeler. It's the early 2000s, and Bob Chapman, the CEO, walks into a world of bells and time clocks. Workers like Ron Campbell, a 27-year veteran, stand at machines, waiting for the signal to start. 2 hours in, a bell grants a break. Coffee, a restroom trip, or just a moment to breathe. Another bell signals lunch, then back to the grind. Ron tells Chapman, "You trust me more when I'm in Puerto Rico installing equipment than when I'm here. The minute I walk in, it's like someone's thumb is on me." Across the room, office staff roam freely. No bells, no clocks, highlighting a stark divide. Chapman's epiphany hits in 1997, sipping coffee in the cafeteria. He watches workers laugh over March Madness bets, their joy palpable, until the bell rings. Their smiles fade, energy drains, and Chapman feels a pang of despair. Why can't work feel human? He acts fast. Time clocks vanish, bells go silent, and locked parts cages open up. Payphones, replaced with free company lines for anyone to call home, no permission needed. Suddenly, factory workers and accountants are equals, trusted to manage their own time. The shift ripples outward. When a painter's wife faces amputation, his team donates vacation days to keep him paid, an act unthinkable under the old rules. Mike Merck, an assembly leader, marvels. We're thinking about others more. Theft, nearly zero. Machines, better cared for. Revenue climbs from $55 million to $95 million. Sinek ties this to a wedding Chapman attends years later. Watching a father hand his daughter to her groom, Chapman realizes every employee is someone's child, entrusted to a leader's care. At Southwest Airlines, this ethos shines too. CEO Herb Kelleher once said, "We take care of our people, and they take care of our customers." When leaders treat employees as humans, not resources, trust blooms, cortisol drops, and people thrive. It's not charity, it's biology meeting business, proving safety drives success. Chapter 3, Belonging. Next, we're at Marine Corps boot camp, where George, a nervous recruit, steps off a bus into chaos. Drill instructors scream, hoarse from years of barking orders, stripping away I, me, and my from his vocabulary. From this day on, one shouts, "It's we, together us." 13 weeks of grueling training later, George clutches his eagle, globe, and anchor pin, tears welling up. He arrived insecure, focused on himself. He leaves confident, bonded to his fellow Marines, certain they'd die for him as he would for them. This transformation, Sinek says, is the power of belonging, a sense of safety so deep it turns strangers into family. Sinek illustrates with Aesop's tale of 4 oxen and a lion. Together, tails in a circle, their horns fend off the predator. Alone, they're picked off one by one. The Marine circle of safety mirrors this. No internal danger, just unity against the outside. It's not about combat skills, though they learn those, but trust. Sinek points to Zappos, where CEO Tony C. builds a quirky, tight-knit culture. Employees stay not for pay, but for belonging. C once offered $2,000 to quit, and few took it. When we feel we belong, Sinek explains, serotonin surges, reinforcing our place in the tribe. Without it, we waste energy guarding against each other, not the real threats. Chapter 4. Yeah, but here's the pushback. Yeah, but what about the real world? Not every leader can hug it out. Sinek nods to this in Chapter 4, admitting safety isn't always easy. External pressures, budgets, competitors, shareholders, test even the best leaders. Yet he insists, the circle isn't a luxury. At Barry Wemmeler, Chapman faced skepticism. How do you scale trust in a profit-driven world? His answer, small acts, consistently applied. At the U.S. Marines, it's not blind optimism. It's discipline forged in adversity. Sinek teases what's ahead. Biology and history will show why safety isn't soft, it's strategic. Conclusion to Part 1. So, what ties Johnny Bravo's dive, Chapman's revolution, and the Marines' bond? Our need to feel safe. Sinek's Part 1 is a clarion call. Leaders who eat last, putting their people before themselves, tap into our deepest instincts. From Afghanistan's valleys to factory floors, safety isn't a perk. It's the foundation of trust, cooperation, and resilience. Whether it's Google's risk-friendly teams or Zappos' quirky tribe, the lesson holds. When we're protected from above, we pull together. Next, we'll explore the powerful forces, chemical and cultural, that make this work. Stay with me. Part 2, Powerful Forces. We now step into Part 2, Powerful Forces. We're diving into the invisible engines that drive us, chemicals in our brains, instincts in our bones, and the choices leaders make to harness them. This is where science meets story, where Sinek reveals why some teams soar while others stumble. From a Marine's defiance in Vietnam to a tech CEO's radical loyalty, we'll uncover the forces that shape trust, resilience, and purpose. These aren't just theories. They're the biology of belonging, tested in war zones and boardrooms alike. So, let's strap in and explore the powers that pull us together or tear us apart. Chapter 5. When Enough Was Enough. Our story opens in the jungles of Vietnam, 1970. A young Marine, Lieutenant Charlie Kim, not his real name, leads a platoon through hostile territory. His men are exhausted, rations low, the enemy relentless. Then comes an order from HQ, abandon a wounded soldier to keep moving. Charlie's gut churns. He's seen too many left behind, too many names etched on memorials. This time, he says no. Defying command, he slings the soldier over his shoulder and carries him miles to safety. His platoon rallies, risking their lives not for medals, but for each other. Charlie's choice ripples forward. Today, he's the CEO of Next Jump, a tech firm where he's banned layoffs for life. His 700 employees stay, not out of fear, but loyalty. Sinek uses Charlie's defiance to spotlight a tipping point. When enough is enough, humans rebel against dehumanization. It's not just war. Think of Rosa Parks refusing to give up her seat in 1955, sparking a movement. In business, Charlie's no-layoff policy mirrors this. During the 2008 recession, while rivals slashed jobs, Next Jump doubled down on its people, offering training, not pink slips. Revenue later soared, proving sacrifice builds strength. Sinek ties this to our tribal roots. When leaders prioritize the group over orders or profit, they ignite a fierce, primal unity. It's why Charlie's Marines and his employees followed him anywhere. Chapter 6. EDSO. Now, let's zoom into our brains with Sinek's acronym. EDSO, endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. These chemicals, he says, are the powerful forces behind every choice we make. Endorphins mask pain, like the rush of a marathon's final mile. Think of ultrarunner Dean Karnazes, who ran 50 marathons in 50 days, laughing through the agony. Dopamine drives goals. Picture a salesperson hitting quota, that electric thrill of victory. Together, they're selfish, fueling individual survival. But serotonin and oxytocin? They're selfless. Serotonin swells when a teacher sees a student graduate, pride in shared success. Oxytocin floods during a parent's hug, or when coworkers high-five after a win. Sinek illustrates with a tale from the U.S. Air Force. A pilot, call sign Sparky, flies a refueling mission, knowing his tanker keeps fighters aloft. He'll never meet them, but their "thanks, Sparky" over the radio triggers oxytocin, connection without contact. At work, this plays out at W.L. Gore and Associates, makers of Gore TX. With no titles and small teams, employees self-organize, bonding over shared wins. Sinek's data backs this. Oxytocin boosts immunity, serotonin stabilizes mood. But imbalance, like dopamine-chasing sales reps ignoring team needs, breeds distrust. Great leaders, like Sparky or Gore's founders, wield EDSO to unite, not divide. Chapter 7. The Big C. Then there's the shadow force, cortisol, the Big C. It's our alarm system, spiking when a deer bolts from a rustle, or when an email pings with urgent, meeting now. Sinek paints a vivid scene. A factory worker, let's call her Maria, clocks in daily, dreading the axe of layoffs. Her boss rules by fear. Miss a quota, and you're out. Cortisol surges, her sleep fades, her health frays. She's not alone. Sinek cites the Whitehall studies, where British civil servants' stress levels climbed as job control dropped. Lower ranks, flooded with cortisol, faced heart disease 3 times higher than top brass. But cortisol isn't all bad. It sharpens focus in a crisis. Sinek nods to firefighters rushing into flames, cortisol honing their senses. The catch? Chronic exposure, like Maria's, kills trust. Contrast this with Costco, where CEO Jim Sinegal kept wages high and jobs secure during downturns. Employees thrived, cortisol low, loyalty sky high. Sinek's point, leaders control the Big C. At Toyota, after the 2011 tsunami, execs cut their own pay to save jobs, cortisol stayed in check, and the company rebounded fast. When leaders absorb stress, they shield their tribe, turning danger into strength. Chapter 8. Why we have leaders. So why do we even need leaders? Sinek closes part 2 with a primal truth. Leaders exist to balance these forces. In caveman tribes, the alpha ate first but also faced the lion first, earning trust through sacrifice. Today, Sinek says, leaders like Charlie Kim or Senegal do the same, absorbing risk so their people can thrive. It's not about power, it's about purpose. At Patagonia, CEO Yvon Chouinard pushes sustainability over profit, inspiring a tribe that outlasts trends. Leaders, Sinek teases, are the fulcrum, tip toward cortisol, and we fracture. Lean on EDSO's selfless side, and we soar. Conclusion to Part 2. Part 2 leaves us with a revelation. Powerful forces, chemical and human, shape every team. Charlie Kim's defiance, Sparky's unseen bond, Costco's steady hand. They show leaders wield endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin to forge unity, while taming cortisol's chaos. From Vietnam to Silicon Valley, the lesson echoes. When leaders say enough to fear and greed, they unlock our deepest drives. Next, we'll see how reality tests this ideal and why courage matters most. Stay tuned. Part 3. Reality. In Part 3, Reality, we confront the messy, unvarnished truth of leadership. We'll walk through a world where ideals slam into obstacles, where doing the right thing takes guts, and where vision can falter. Sinek doesn't sugarcoat it. Building a circle of safety isn't easy when budgets tighten, egos clash, or chaos reigns. Through tales of military valor and corporate grit, like a Marine defying orders or a CEO betting on people over profit, we'll see why courage and adaptability are the bedrock of real leadership. This is where theory meets the grind. Let's step into the fray. Chapter 9. The Courage to Do the Right Thing. Our story begins in Iraq, 2004, amid the dust and danger of war. First Lieutenant John, not his real name, leads a Marine platoon on patrol. They're ambushed, bullets rip through the air, a young lance corporal falls, wounded. Orders crackle over the radio. Press forward, leave him. John freezes. Protocol says move. His gut screams stay. He's seen the toll of abandonment. Graves back home, letters to grieving parents. In a split second, he decides. He kneels, hoists the Marine onto his back, and signals his squad to cover him. They fight their way to a medevac, every step a gamble. The corporal lives. John faces a reprimand, but no regrets. His men now trust him with their lives. Sinek uses this to frame a raw truth. Leadership demands courage to defy the easy path. It's not just war. Think of Aaron Brockovich, a legal clerk with no degree, exposing a utility giant's poison in 1990s California. She faced threats, mockery, but saved lives because she wouldn't bend. In business, Sinek points to Bob Chapman at Barry Wehmiller. During the 2008 recession, orders at one plant plummeted 35%. Wall Street screamed, cut jobs. A $10 million shortfall loomed. Chapman refused. Instead, he launched a furlough. Everyone, from janitor to CEO, took 4 unpaid weeks, staggered so no one lost income at once. Employees cheered, even donated vacation days to each other. The plant survived, then thrived. By 2013, Barry Wehmiller hit $1.8 billion in revenue. This isn't soft-hearted idealism, it's steel-spined resolve. Sinek contrasts this with Stanley O'Neill at Merrill Lynch, who axed thousands in 2007 to pad profits, only to crash the firm into a $8.4 billion loss. Courage, Sinek says, isn't reckless. It's choosing people over numbers, even when the heat's on. At Chick-fil-A, founder Truett Cathy closed Sundays despite Wall Street's grumbling, honoring faith and family. Sales soared anyway. Trust paid off. Reality tests leaders. Do you buckle or build? Chapter 10. Snowmobile in the Desert. Now picture a snowmobile, sleek, powerful, built to carve through powder. Drop it in a desert, and it's a hunk of metal, useless without snow. Sinek spins this metaphor to probe adaptability. Great leaders don't just cling to strengths. They pivot when reality shifts. Take Johnny Bravo from Part 1. His A-10 Warthog was a beast in close air support, but that night in Afghanistan, he improvised, diving blind through clouds. His tools didn't change, his courage did. Sinek argues this flexibility defines survival, whether in war or work. Consider 3M, where chemist Spencer Silver stumbled on a weak adhesive in 1968. It wasn't strong enough for industry, 3M's bread and butter, so it sat, a desert snowmobile. Enter Art Fry, a colleague who sang in church. Struggling with slipping hymnbook markers, he saw Silver's glue as gold. They pitched post-it notes. Management balked, fearing failure. Fry persisted, handing out samples until demand exploded. By 1980, post-its were a global icon. 3M adapted, turning a misfit into a marvel. Sinek ties this to anthropology. Early humans didn't outmuscle rivals. They outthought them, crafting spears from sticks. Contrast this with Kodak, a titan of film photography. In 1975, engineer Steve Sasson invented the digital camera, a snowmobile for a new era. Execs buried it, wedded to film's profits. By 2012, Kodak filed for bankruptcy, a desert relic. Sinek's point lands hard. Reality doesn't care about your strengths if they don't fit. At Netflix, Reed Hastings killed DVD rentals to stream, Blockbuster didn't, and died. Leaders who eat last don't just protect. They evolve, ensuring their tribe's tools match the terrain. Conclusion to Part 3. Part 3. Reality strips away the rose-tinted glasses. Sinek shows us John's defiance, Chapman's gamble, and Fry's persistence. Proof that leadership isn't a fairy tale, but a fight. Courage means carrying your wounded, furloughing not firing, even when the world says cut. Adaptability means turning glue into post-its or ditching film for pixels, not clinging to sand-stuck snowmobiles. This is where the circle of safety holds, or breaks. Next, we'll trace how we got here, from booms to busts. The stakes are real. Let's keep going. Part 4. How we got here. We'll trace the arc of modern America, from roaring prosperity to restless reckoning, unpacking how we landed in a world where trust frays and safety wanes. Sinek takes us from the post-war boom of the 1940s to the boomer-led shifts of the 1980s, showing how economic highs and cultural turns reshaped leadership. Through tales of wartime unity, corporate giants, and societal sea changes, like a nation pulling together, then pulling apart, we'll see why today's challenges aren't accidents, but echoes of history. Let's rewind and uncover the roots. Chapter 11. The Boom Before the Bust. Picture America in 1946, the war just won. Factories hum, churning out cars and radios instead of tanks. Soldiers return to ticker-tape parades, greeted by a nation united in sacrifice. It's the dawn of the baby boom, 76 million births by 1964, a flood of life fueled by victory and hope. Sinek paints this as the greatest generation's legacy, a tight-knit society where neighbors shared ration cards and factories ran on teamwork. My grandfather, a welder in a Detroit plant, told me stories of those days. Everyone clocked in early, not for overtime, but pride. The economy soared. GDP doubled from 1940 to 1960 because people felt safe, part of a bigger U.S. This wasn't just nostalgia, it was biology at work. Sinek nods to the oxytocin of wartime bonds. Think of Rosie the Riveter and her crew, laughing over lunch pails, or families pooling gas coupons. Companies mirrored this. At Ford, workers stayed decades, pensions secure, leaders like Henry Ford II eating last in spirit. Profits flowed, but people came first. Even in the 1920s boom, before the Great Depression's bust, radio ads promised shared prosperity. Sinek cites The War by Ken Burns. 18-year-olds enlisted en masse, not for glory, but duty, a circle of safety spanning a continent. But cracks loomed. The 1929 crash hinted at imbalance. Speculation outpaced solidarity. Post-war, the boom masked a shift. By the 1960s, Sinek notes, civil rights marches and Vietnam protests signaled unrest. Safety held, but only for some. At IBM, Thomas Watson Jr. built a culture of lifetime jobs, yet the seeds of individualism sprouted. The stage was set, abundance was coming, and with it, a test of that tribal unity. Chapter 12. The Boomers all grown up. Fast forward to 1980. The Boomers, those 76 million kids of the greatest generation, are adults running the show. Sinek dubs them the Me Generation, a tag from Tom Wolfe's 1976 essay. They grew up in prosperity. My mom, a boomer, remembers color TVs and suburbia, but also upheaval, Watergate, Vietnam, civil rights. They pushed boundaries. Think Woodstock, women's lib. Yet something flipped. By the 1980s, Reagan's air traffic controller firings, 11,359 sacked in 1981, signaled a new ethos. Individual gain over collective good. Sinek marks this as a pivot. Trust eroded as boomers chased personal success. Corporate America caught the fever. Milton Friedman's 1970 manifesto, "The only responsibility of business is profit," lit the fuse. Jack Welch at GE embodied it, slashing 100,000 jobs in the 1980s, earning Neutron Jack infamy. Stock prices spiked, but cortisol surged. Workers feared the axe, not the future. Sinek contrasts this with Costco's Jim Sinegal, a rare boomer holdout. In 1983, he launched a retailer prioritizing people. By 2005, he defied Wall Street, raising wages while GE chased shareholder value. Costco thrived. GE faltered post-Welch. Abundance warped the game. Sinek points to the 1980s tech boom. Microsoft's Bill Gates vowed a PC on every desk, but stock analysts soon dwarfed innovators. Deregulation. Glass-Steagall's 1999 repeal unleashed banking greed, setting up 2008's crash. Even politics shifted. Tip O'Neill and Reagan sparred but dined together. By the 1990s, Newt Gingrich's partisan playbook killed that camaraderie. The circle shrank. We became me. Sinek's data stings. Only 20% of Americans love their jobs by 2014, down from the greatest generation's unity. Boomers built a world of plenty, but at a cost. Safety faded, trust fractured. Conclusion to Part 4. Part 4. How We Got Here lays bare a tale of rise and rupture. Sinek shows the greatest generation's boom forging a circle of safety, Ford's loyalty, wartime bonds, then the boomers stretching it to breaking. From Welch's cuts to Reagan's layoffs, abundance bred individualism, swapping us for me. Yet Sinegal's Costco proves the old way endures when leaders choose people over profit. History isn't fate, it's a mirror. Next, we'll face the abstract challenges it birthed. Stay with me as we unravel the fallout. Part 5. The Abstract Challenge. We'll dive into a modern menace, abstraction, where people become numbers, connections fade, and danger creeps in. Sinek warns that losing touch with the human side of leadership isn't just a glitch. It's a threat to our survival. From Nazi atrocities to corporate callousness, from radiologists rediscovering empathy to CEOs fighting imbalance, we'll explore how abstraction kills and how we can fight back. This isn't abstract theory. It's the reality of our wired world, tested by stories that hit close to home. Let's peel back the layers and confront the challenge head-on. Chapter 13. Abstraction Kills. Imagine Jerusalem, 1961. Adolf Eichmann, a Nazi architect of the Holocaust, stands trial. He's not a snarling villain, just a bureaucrat, calm, claiming he only followed orders. Sinek uses this chilling scene to unveil abstraction's lethal edge. Eichmann didn't see Jews as people, just numbers on a ledger, train schedules to camps. 6 million died because he, and others, lost the human thread. Psychologist Stanley Milgram tested this in 1961. Volunteers shocked a subject, an actor, under a lab coat's nudge. 2/3 maxed out at 450 volts, hearing screams, because authority abstracted the pain into a task. Sinek shifts to business. Peanut Corporation's Stuart Parnell, 2009. He shipped salmonella-tainted peanuts. Knowing the risk, 9 died, 700 sickened. To him, they were stats, not families. At Wells Fargo, Post, 2008, bankers pushed fake accounts to hit quotas. Customers became digits, trust shattered. Abstraction kills when leaders see people as means, not ends. Sinek quotes Stalin, "One death is a tragedy. 1,000,000 is a statistic." It's why we mourn a neighbor but shrug at distant wars, like Syria's 100,000 dead in 2013. Our brains crave closeness. Abstraction numbs it. Chapter 14. Modern Abstraction. Now fast forward to today's screenlit world. Sinek paints a scene. A teen, let's call her Cammie, scrolls Instagram in 2013, heart sinking. A friend's suicide note, blaming cyberbullying, gets likes, not help. 1 in 4 teens faces online hate, Sinek notes, yet it's abstract. Pixels, not faces. Social media, he argues, turns bonds into data points. At BlogWorld 2012, I saw this. Hundreds networked online, but in-person talks felt richer, real. Abstraction thrives in scale. W.L. Gore caps teams at 150, Dunbar's number, keeping trust tangible. Corporations amplify this. Sinek cites Apple's tax dodging, billions sheltered offshore by 2013, legal but faceless. CEO Tim Cook shrugged, it's the tax code. At Goldman Sachs, traders bet against clients in 2008, abstractions of profit over people. Even disasters, like the Titanic, 1912, reflect this. Regulations favored ship owners, not passengers. 1,500 died in icy water, a statistic to regulators. Sinek's point stings. Modern tools, tech, scale, law, distance us from humanity, eroding the circle of safety. Chapter 15, Managing the Abstraction. But there's hope. Sinek tells of radiologist Jonathan Turner in 2008. Reviewing scans, he felt detached. Patients were files, not lives. He started attaching photos to x-rays. Suddenly, a lung mass wasn't data. It was a grandmother's smile. Accuracy soared. Empathy beat abstraction. At Wharton, Adam Grant ran an experiment. Fundraisers met scholarship recipients. Calls spiked 171%. Seeing the why made the what real. Sinek ties this to our limbic brain. We feel before we think. In business, next jumps Charlie Kim fights abstraction with intimacy. No layoffs, small teams. Employees know each other's kids' names. At Zappos, Tony C hosts quirky events, parades, shave-offs, binding 1,500 workers into a tribe. Sinek contrasts this with Citi's 2008 cuts, 52,000 jobs slashed, a number to execs, not lives uprooted. Managing abstraction means grounding work in people, handshakes, not spreadsheets. It's why radiologists with photos or fundraisers with faces outshine detached drones. Leaders who eat last shrink the gap, making the abstract human again. Chapter 16, Imbalance. Yet balance teeters. Sinek warns of abundance's trap. Too much dopamine, chasing goals, drowns oxytocin's trust. Think Wall Street's bonus culture. Traders hoard, teams fracture. At BP, cost-cutting abstracted safety. 2010's Deepwater Horizon spilled 4.9 million barrels, 11 died. Leaders ignored the human cost for profit stats. Sinek teases ahead. This imbalance festers, but solutions loom. Reality demands we tilt back. Less me, more we. Conclusion to Part 5. Part 5. The abstract challenge lays bare a modern plague. Eichmann's ledgers, Parnell's peanuts, Goldman's bets. Abstraction kills when people fade to figures. Sinek shows it's rampant. Social media, scale, greed, but not invincible. Turner's photos, Grant's meetings, Kim's intimacy prove we can reconnect, balancing dopamine's rush with oxytocin's bond. This isn't tech's fault, it's ours. Next, we'll face abundance's dark side. Stay with me, we're not done fighting. Part 6, Destructive Abundance. We'll confront a paradox. How too much of a good thing can unravel us. Sinek argues that abundance, mishandled, breeds greed, distrust, and collapse, tearing apart the circle of safety. Through 5 leadership lessons, spanning culture, integrity, and human connection, we'll see this play out in banks, hotels, and retail giants. From Goldman Sachs' fall to Costco's rise, from a Mumbai siege to a submarine's turnaround, these stories reveal abundance's dark side and the leaders who tame it. This isn't just theory, it's a warning and a roadmap rooted in real stakes. Let's dive into the chaos of plenty. Chapter 17, Leadership Lesson 1. So goes the culture, so goes the company. Picture Goldman Sachs, 1999, a Wall Street titan, untouchable. Its IPO cashes in decades of client-first ethos. Partners like Gus Levy once ate last, building trust. Fast forward to 2010. CEO Lloyd Blankfein shrugs off a $500 million fine for misleading clients. Bonuses intact. Culture shifted, greed replaced duty. Sinek cites Greg Smith's 2012 op-ed. It's toxic, profits over people. By 2008, Goldman's bets fueled a crash, status tanked. Culture, Sinek says, dictates fate. At WestJet, a Canadian airline, employees own shares, clean planes together. By 2011, it's Canada's darling, culture driving profit. Abundance, Goldman's billions, warped its compass. Sinek contrasts this with 3M, where Post-it notes bloomed from collaboration, not cuts. Culture isn't fluff, it's the soil. Plant greed, harvest ruin. Sow trust, reap resilience. When leaders let abundance fester unchecked, companies rot from within. Chapter 18, Leadership Lesson 2. So goes the leader, so goes the culture. Now Mumbai, 2008. The Taj Mahal Palace Hotel burns under terrorist siege. Gunmen roam, yet staff stay, ushering guests to safety, some dying in the crossfire. Why? Sinek points to leadership. Execs instilled a creed of service over self. A cook shields a child, a manager takes a bullet. No orders, just instinct bred by culture. Contrast this with Merrill Lynch, same year. CEO Stanley O'Neill slashes jobs, 20,000 by 2007, chasing bonuses. Losses hit $8.4 billion. He exits with $161 million. Culture crumbled under his self-first reign. Sinek pivots to the USS Santa Fe, 1999. Captain David Marquet inherits a failing sub, 96% retention, rock-bottom morale. He flips command. I intend to, replaces orders, empowering crew. By 2001, it's the Navy's best. 10 future captains emerge. Leaders seed culture. O'Neill's greed poisoned. Marquet's trust healed. Abundance amplifies this. Too much power, poorly led, destroys. Chapter 19, Leadership Lesson 3, Integrity Matters. Flash to 2013. Ralph Lauren's Argentina unit bribes officials for imports. Caught. They don't hide. CEO Ralph Lauren self-reports. Pays $1.6 million. Earns leniency. Integrity shines. Sinek contrasts this with Walmart, 2012. CEO Mike Duke touts values, but worker Jackie Goebel exposes a dodge. Goals tweaked to pad his bonus, not hers. Trust erodes. At Bank of America, 2011, a $5 debit fee sparks fury. CEO Brian Moynihan backtracks, but damage lingers. Sinek ties this to the Marines, 2003. A sergeant owns a misfired strike, faces his squad, keeps their faith. Integrity isn't PR, it's action matching words. Abundance tempts shortcuts. Walmart's metrics, buffets fees, but leaders who eat last own mistakes. At Patagonia, Yvon Chouinard rejects fast fashion, profits climb, honesty outlasts spin. Chapter 20, Leadership Lesson 4, Friends Matter. Imagine Quantico, 2011. Marines run the foxhole test. Who'd you trust in a trench? Sinek joins, picks a buddy who'd share the last bullet. Friendship, oxytocin's glue, binds tribes. At Next Jump, Charlie Kim hosts buddy lunches. New hires pair up, bonds form, turnover drops. Compare City, 2008. Kim Stewart's team sabotages her for promotions. 52,000 cut, no one mourns. Friendship's absent. Sinek nods to Saddam Hussein's Iraq. Loyalty bought, not earned. Regime fell fast. Abundance. Next Jump's perks. City's wealth. Tests this. At Southwest, Herb Kelleher's barbecues knit a family. Pilots strike less, profits soar. Friends fight for each other, strangers scatter. Leaders who foster bonds turn excess into strength. Chapter 21, Leadership Lesson 5. Lead the people, not the numbers. Finally, Costco, 2005. Jim Sinegal caps his pay at $350,000. Wall Street scoffs. He hikes wages, keeps jobs. By 2013, Costco's second globally, $135 billion strong. Sinek contrasts GE's Jack Welch. Numbers first, 100,000 axed. Legacy fades post, 2001. BP's 2010 spill, 11 dead, $40 billion lost, stems from cost-cutting stats over lives. Abundance seduces with metrics. Sinegal resists, leading people. At Harley-Davidson, 1980s, execs ride with workers, sales rebound, a tribe reborn. Numbers matter, but people breathe life. Leaders who eat last wield abundance for we. not me. Conclusion to Part 6. Part 6. Destructive abundance exposes plenty's peril. Goldman's greed, O'Neill's ego, BP's cuts, culture, leadership, integrity, friendship, and people-first focus falter under excess. Yet Taj's staff, Marquet's crew, Senegal's stand prove abundance can build, not break. Sinek's lessons scream, lead humanly, or lose everything. Next, we'll face our addicted society. Stay with me, there's hope in the wreckage. Part 7. A society of addicts. We'll peer into a mirror Sinek holds up to us, a reflection of a culture hooked on quick fixes, chasing highs that hollow us out. This isn't just about drugs or screens. It's about addiction to performance, power, and abstraction, fraying the bonds that once held us tight. From a newsroom's lost soul to a generation's digital drift, from corporate climbers to lonely teens, we'll explore how we've become our own problem and what it costs. These stories of Ted Koppel, a struggling addict named John, and more, hit hard, but Sinek offers a lifeline. Let's step into this raw reckoning. Chapter 22. At the center of all our problems is us. Picture a hospital in 1847 Vienna. Mothers die in droves from puerperal fever, a mystery killer. Dr. Oliver Wendell Holmes points to doctors' dirty hands, but peers scoff. We're not the cause. Denial delays truth. They're addicted to status, not solutions. Sinek fast-forwards to John, a modern addict, not his real name, sitting in an AA meeting, 2013. Booze numbed his pain, dopamine his reward, until rock bottom hit. AA's circle of shared struggle pulls him back. Oxytocin, not liquor, heals. Sinek ties this to us. We're hooked on neurochemical hits, blind to the wreckage. Take newsrooms. Ted Koppel recalls 1980s ABC, driven by duty, not ratings. Post-deregulation, Fairness Doctrine Act 1987, Nightline bows to profit. By 2010, Koppel laments, we're addicts to eyeballs, not truth. Or Wall Street. Post-Glass-Steagall repeal, 1999, bankers chase dopamine via risky bets, crashing 2008. Sinek cites Northwestern, ADHD diagnoses tripled since 1960, 11% of kids by 2013, our impatience feeds it. We're the problem, addicted to instant gratification, dodging the slow work of trust. Yet John's AA circle hints at redemption, connection cures. Chapter 23, At Any Expense. Now imagine John again, pre-sobriety, 2010. He's a sales rep, crushing quotas, dopamine surging. Bosses cheer, but he's hollow, friends fade, health frays. Success at any expense mirrors society, Sinek says. Look at Enron, 2001. Execs cook books, stock soars, then implodes. $74 billion lost, 20,000 jobs gone. Kenlay's addiction? Power, numbers, not people. Or BP, 2010. Deepwater Horizon spills 4.9 million barrels, 11 die. Years of cost-cutting chase profit, not safety. Sinek shifts to sports. Lance Armstrong, 1990s to 2000s, wins 7 Tours de France, doping all along. Fans adored the high. His fall, stripped titles, 2013, exposed the cost. In tech, Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg pushes move fast, break things. By 2018, data scandals, Cambridge Analytica, show users as collateral. Addiction to winning trumps ethics. Sinek contrasts Southwest Airlines. Herb Kelleher skips short-term cuts, builds a family. By 2014, it's the only U.S. airline never bankrupt. Chasing highs, profit, fame, sacrifices the circle, leading people, not stats, endures. Chapter 24, The Abstract Generation. Enter Generation Y, born 1980s to 2000s, screen-raised. Sinek paints a teen, Sarah, not her real name, 2013, texting at dinner, dopamine pinging with every like. Her mom sighs, we talked more. Gen Y's hooked on instant hits. 1. Face watches fun causes, but it's abstract, not hands-on. ADHD spikes. CDC says 11% by 2013, patience thins. Sinek cites school shootings. Columbine, 1999, 13 dead. Rare in 1960, routine now. Bullying's digital, distant. Contrast the greatest generation, My grandma knits socks for soldiers, 1940s, oxytocin in every stitch. Gen Y's charity clicks lack that bond. Sinek notes suicide rates jump 50% for boomers by 2013. Gen Y follows. At Twitter, endless scrolls feed dopamine, not trust. Compare Habitat for Humanity, where teens hammer nails, feel purpose. Abstraction, screens over sweat, starves connection. Sinek warns, we're raising addicts to speed, not depth. Conclusion to Part 7. Part 7. A society of addicts lays us bare. John's spiral, Enron's greed, Sarah's screen. Sinek shows we're hooked on dopamine's rush, blind to oxytocin's bomb. Koppel's news, Armstrong's wins, Gen Y's likes. Abundance feeds this, costing lives, trust, sanity. Yet AA's circle, Southwest family hint at hope. We can kick it. Next, we'll seek the path to lead anew. Stay with me, we're not lost yet. Part 8. Becoming a leader. Sinek hands us the torch, showing how to rise above the wreckage and lead with purpose. This isn't about titles or corner offices. It's about healing, uniting, and stepping up, no matter where we stand. Through stories of recovery, resilience, and renewal, from an addict's redemption to a submariner's legacy, from Marines in crisis to everyday heroes, we'll see leadership as a choice, not a rank. This is Sinek's call to action, rooted in human connection and shared struggle. Let's discover how to become the leaders we need, right now. Chapter 25, Step 12. Picture John, our addict from Part 7, sober now, 2014. He's in an AA meeting, not as a broken man, but a guide. Step 12 looms. Carry this message to others. John shares his fall, booze-soaked nights, lost jobs, and his climb back, voice steady. A newcomer, eyes red, nods. John's story saves him. Sinek ties this to leadership. It's not about fixing yourself, then stopping. It's helping others rise. AA's oxytocin-rich circles. 2012 studies show it curbs withdrawal, prove connection heals. John's no CEO, but he leads. Sinek shifts to David Marquet, USS Santa Fe, 2001. After turning a failing sub into a Navy star, he doesn't bask, he mentors. 10 crew become captains, a legacy of empowerment. At Charity, Water, Scott Harrison ditches a club promoter's life. Empty dopamine hits, for wells in Ethiopia. By 2013, he's raised $100 million, not for fame, but others' thirst. Step 12 echoes. Leaders don't hoard success, they share it. Sinek cites Duke University, Married Folks Live Longer, 2013, Connections Power Transcends. Becoming a leader means lifting others, every day. Chapter 26, Shared Struggle. Now, Iraq, 2010, a Marine squad digs in, mortar fire raining. Their lieutenant, call her Sarah, rallies them, not with orders, but a nod. We've got this. They haul sandbags, share water, laugh, through fear, survive. Sinek says shared struggle forges tribes. Post 9/11, civilians knit for soldiers. My aunt sent gloves, oxytocin in every stitch. Struggle binds. At Barry Wemmeler, 2008, Bob Chapman's furlough unites. Workers trade days, no one's fired. Revenue hits $1.8 billion by 2013. Contrast Congress, 2013 to 14% approval, gridlocked. Sinek cites Stephanie Herseth Sandlin. Fundraising trumps friendship, struggles selfish. At Patagonia, Yvonne Chouinard climbs with staff. By 2014, $700 million in sales, eco-driven. Shared hardship, war, recession, mountains, releases oxytocin, trust surges. Sinek nods to AA again. 2012, oxytocin cuts alcohol cravings, struggle shared heals. Leaders don't dodge pain, they dive in, pulling us closer. Think nurses in COVID wards, 2020, exhausted, united, they lead without rank. Chapter 27, we need more leaders. Finally, Sinek stands on a soapbox. We need more leaders. Not bosses, humans who eat last. At Next Jump, Charlie Kim bans layoffs. Turnover's 1%, culture's gold. Sinek contrasts Jack Welch's GE, 100,000 cut, legacy fades, with Costco's Jim Sinegal, wages rise, $135 billion by 2013. Leaders breed leaders. In 2011, I met Marines at Quantico. Grunts and generals swapped stories. Trust palpable. Sinek cites Arnold Toynbee. Civilizations die by suicide. Ours teeters. Military suicides up 2013, 349 dead. But hope glimmers. Southwest's Herb Kelleher grills with pilots. Profits soar. No bankruptcy by 2014. Sinek's plea. Lead where you stand. Parent, clerk, friend. Newton's second law. Force equals mass times acceleration. Fits. Small acts. Multiplied. Move mountains. We're not doomed. We're dormant. Become a leader. Spark more. Conclusion to Part 8. Part 8. Becoming a leader is Sinek's rallying cry. John's redemption, Sarah's squad, Senegal's stand. Leadership isn't born, it's chosen. Step 12 shares wisdom. Shared struggle binds us, and more leaders lift us. From Marquet's mints to Chenard's climbers, it's clear. We heal through connection, thrive through sacrifice. This isn't the end, it's our start. You're the leader we need. Let's eat last, together. Conclusion. And so, we reach the end of our journey through Leaders Eat Last. Why some teams pull together and others don't by Simon Sinek. But really, it's just the beginning. Over this hour, we've soared with Johnny Bravo above Afghanistan's dark valleys, risking all to shield 22 soldiers he'd never met. We've walked the factory floors of Barry Wemmeler with Bob Chapman, tearing down time clocks to build a family. We've felt the Marine's pin in our fist, the oxytocin of belonging, and faced the cortisol sting of a society addicted to quick wins. From Goldman Sachs' greed to Costco's grit, from a submariner's empowerment to a generation's digital drift, Sinek has woven a tapestry of truth. Leadership isn't about power, it's about people. It's about eating last. Let's linger here a moment. What does that mean, to eat last? It's Captain Mike drowly counting seconds to save his squad, not for a medal, but because they'd do it for him. It's Jim Senegal at Costco, capping his pay at $350,000 while Wall Street howled, knowing his workers' $20 an hour wages fueled a $135 billion empire by 2013. It's the Taj Mahal Palace staff in 2008, shielding guests from bullets, not for a bonus, but a creed stitched into their souls. Sinek's vision is primal. We're wired for tribes, for circles of safety where trust trumps fear, where serotonin and oxytocin outshine dopamine's fleeting rush. This isn't soft, it's science, proven by biology and battlefields alike. Yet the world tests this. Sinek showed us how boomers traded we for me, abundance bred abstraction, and addiction dulled our bonds. Enron's $74 billion collapse in 2001, BP's 11 deaths in 2010, Congress's 14% approval in 2013. They're scars of leaders who ate first, chasing numbers over lives. But hope endures. Think of Patagonia's Yvon Chouinard, trekking with his team, building a $700 million eco-empire by 2014. Or Southwest Airlines' Herb Kelleher, barbecuing with pilots. No bankruptcy by 2014, just loyalty. These aren't outliers. They're proof. When leaders sacrifice for their people, those people lift each other, and the whole rises, stronger, taller, unshakable. This isn't idealism. It's reality, grounded in results. Barry Wemmeler's $1.8 billion revenue by 2013 didn't come from cuts, but care. David Marquet's USS Santa Fe spawned 10 captains, not by barking orders, but sharing struggle. Sinek's data bites. Only 20% of Americans love their jobs. 80% dread Mondays. That's not a quirk, it's a crisis. But it's fixable. You don't need a C-suite key. At a coffee shop, a barista training a newbie with patience is leading. A parent coaching a soccer team through loss is leading. A friend listening when the world's too loud is leading. Sinek's call echoes AA's Step 12, carry the message. We're all leaders when we eat last. So here's your charge, mine too. Look around. Who needs your cover? A coworker swamped? A neighbor alone? Step in, not for applause, but because it's right. Build your circle, small or vast, 5 friends or 50 staff. Reject the greed Sinek exposed, Welch's layoffs, Goldman's bets, and embrace the grit of Chapman, Senegal, Marquet. The world's addicted, abstracted, imbalanced, yes. But it's not doomed. Newton's second law whispers, Force is mass times acceleration. Your act times hours moves mountains. Sinek leaves us with this. We don't need more managers. We need more leaders who eat last. You're one. I'm one. Let's start together. Thanks for walking this path with me. Now, go lead, eat last, lift others, and watch the world rise. Until next time, I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and please remember to subscribe to receive notification of upcoming recordings. See you in next video.